Think about the last time you asked someone for help and they just started. No questions, no clarification. They assumed they understood what you needed and went straight to work. Sometimes that's fine. Sometimes you get back something that's completely off because they made a call you didn't know they were making. That's exactly what happens when you send AI a complex prompt. It starts immediately, and every gap you left gets filled quietly, confidently, without asking. But today we're looking at how one sentence changes that. Here's what happens every time you send a prompt. You describe what you need, AI gets to work immediately. No follow up, no clarification. It produces an output. The output looks reasonable, it's formatted, it's coherent, it addresses the topic. So you read it, make a few tweaks, and move on. But here's the question that most people don't think to ask. Was that output built on your situation? Or was it built on AI's best guess at what your situation probably is? Those two things feel like the same when the output is polished. They stop feeling the same when the output turns out to be wrong. AI doesn't pause when it hits a gap, it fills it. Any detail you didn't include in the prompt gets replaced with the most statistically common version of that detail from training data. The output feels complete because it is complete. Every gap has been filled. You just didn't fill them, AI did. That's the distinction that matters here. Complete and accurate are two different things. An output can be fully formed and still be built on a foundation of substituted assumptions rather than your actual situation. The tricky part is that the assumptions are invisible. The output looked polished, the reasoning sounds right, the logic holds together, and it does hold together based on what AI decided to assume. If those assumptions match your situation, you're fine. If they don't, you won't find out until after you've acted on it. That's the actual cost. It's not a bad output, it's an output that seemed right, got used, and turned out to be built for a situation that wasn't yours. Conversational prompting changes the order of operations. In the default mode, AI generates immediately. It takes your prompt, fills in every gap with its best guess, and produces output. That's the sequence every other technique in the series operates within. Conversational prompting inserts a step before generation. Instead of filling gaps with assumptions, AI surfaces them. It asks what it needs to know. You confirm. Then it produces output built on your actual inputs rather than statistical substitutes. One instruction makes that happen, and we'll see it in a moment. Here's what's happening at the pattern level. A direct request gives AI one starting point, its best guess at what you mean. Every missing detail gets filled in by the most common version of that detail in training data. The output matches the most common version of your request. A request that invites questions gives AI a different starting point. Before generating, it identifies what it would have assumed and asks you to confirm instead. Now the output is built on a pattern match to your confirmed situation rather than the statistical average. The technique doesn't make AI smarter. It changes the inputs AI is working from. Better inputs, more accurate output. There's a secondary benefit that most people don't expect. When AI asks a clarifying question, it's sometimes asking something you didn't think to include. And occasionally, it's asking something you didn't realize you needed to think about. That's the question surfacing a gap in your own thinking before any output is produced. You learn what you were missing before AI makes a decision about it. That discovery is worth more than a faster first draft that quietly gets your situation wrong. The questions aren't just for AI, they're useful for you too. Conversational prompting isn't the move for every prompt. Simple, clear requests don't need clarification. If you know exactly what you need and your prompt communicates it, generate directly. The technique earns its place on complex, multi-part requests where there are too many moving parts to assume safely. And it becomes essential on high-stakes requests, the ones where a wrong assumption creates real downstream cost. The higher the consequences of getting it wrong, the more valuable a clarifying question becomes before the output is produced. So here's what the comparison looks like. First, a complex request sent all at once. Watch what AI assumes and watch where the output drifts as a result. Then the same request, framed to invite questions first. Watch what changes when AI asks before it answers. The weak prompt. Help me write a message to send to my team about some changes we're making to how we handle customer complaints. That's a reasonable prompt. It has a clear task and a real purpose. Most people would write something like this. But here's what it doesn't have: team size, the nature of the change, why it's happening, the emotional temperature of the situation, what the message needs to accomplish, or what tone is appropriate. AI fills all of that. And the output it produces is, hi team, I wanted to share some updates on how we'll be handling customer complaints going forward. These changes are designed to improve our response time and ensure every customer feels heard. And it goes on. The output is polished, it's coherent. It could also be from any company, any team, any situation. It was built on the most common internal memo pattern AI has seen, not on your situation, your team, or your actual change. Here's the technique applied prompt. I need to write a message to my team about changes we're making to how we handle customer complaints. Before you write anything, ask me questions you need to produce a message that actually fits our situation. One sentence added. That sentence changes the entire interaction. Instead of generating, AI responds. Before I write this, a few questions. How many people are on your team and what are their roles? What specifically is changing? Is this change driven by a recent incident or a longer pattern? What tone do you want? Matter of fact, or do people need some reassurance here? Every one of those questions would have been an assumption in the first version. Team size? Assumed. Nature of the change? Assumed. Whether people need reassurance? Assumed. Now you confirm each one before a word of the message is written. The output that follows is built on your situation, not the statistical average of every team memo AI has ever seen. The difference between those two prompts isn't complexity or length, it's timing. A direct request asks AI to generate immediately. AI starts from its best guess, fills gaps with averages, and produces output that's complete but generic. If there's a mismatch, you find it after. A conversational request shifts the timing. AI identifies its gaps before generating and asks you to fill them. The output is built on confirmed inputs. If there's a mismatch, you find it during the question phase before any output exists. One approach surfaces assumptions after the fact. The other surfaces them before they become the foundation of your output. Here's what this technique does not fix on its own. AI asks what it thinks it needs, but that's not always the same as everything it actually needs. The questions AI generates reflects its model of what matters for a task like yours. That model is good, but it's also imperfect. It may miss something specific to your situation that AI wouldn't know to ask about. Read the questions critically. If a key detail is missing from what AI asks, supply it anyway. You own the inputs. AI can only work from what it's given, including the things you didn't give it because no one asked. A clarifying question is AI telling you what it needs to do better work. Questions shift pattern matching from assumptions to specifics. A direct prompt produces an output built on AI's best guess. A conversational prompt produces an output built on what you confirmed. The more complex the request, the more valuable that shift becomes. Build the habit. High stakes prompt, invite questions first. And remember, You still make the calls. You decide whether the questions AI asks are the right ones. You decide whether the answers are complete. AI follows the inputs you confirm, including the ones you got wrong. The technique improves the inputs. Your judgment determines whether those inputs are accurate. If you want to try this, the prompt is simple. Take whatever complex request you're about to send and add one line. Before you write anything, ask me the questions you need to produce something that actually fits my situation. It's the whole technique. There's templates for this and every other technique in the series at eauclaireai.com. And if you want to work through how this applies to your specific workflows, reach out to us at Eau Claire AI directly. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're working through each technique in the same format. Mechanism first, comparison in the middle, and one transferable idea at the end. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.